Elena had always carried her life on her shoulders without complaint. As a single mother juggling 2 shifts at a local bakery, every morning began before sunrise and every night ended long after her teenage son Daniel had fallen asleep. She lived in a small, modest apartment, the kind where every sound echoed, but she never let the walls feel heavy. Even in exhaustion, she tried to fill the home with warmth, laughter, and the smell of fresh bread she often brought home from work. But after months of pushing herself beyond her limits, the pain finally arrived, sharp, unforgiving, and persistent. It started as a dull ache in her lower back, the kind she assumed would disappear with rest. Instead, it grew worse by the day. Soon she couldn't bend comfortably to tie her shoes. Lifting groceries felt like lifting concrete. Even simple movements, like getting out of bed, made her wince. Each task became a reminder of her body's limits. Limits she never thought she'd reach so early in life. Daniel noticed immediately. He'd always been observant, but this time his concern bordered on fear. He'd watch her closely, as if waiting for her to collapse. At first, Elena brushed him off with practiced smiles. "It's nothing, Mio," she would say. "Just a little stiffness," but Daniel wasn't convinced. The way she gripped the counter when pain shot through her, the way she gasped quietly when she thought he wasn't looking, it told him everything she tried to hide. He started taking over. Chores without being asked. He washed dishes, folded laundry, carried the groceries up the stairs, all while insisting she sit and rest. Elena was proud of his kindness, but also uneasy. It didn't feel like ordinary helpfulness. It was too attentive, too deliberate, as though he was following her every move, trying to anticipate her pain even before she felt it. She assumed it was just Daniel being protective, but there was something else in his eyes. A seriousness, a mounting stress, something she couldn't name. As days passed, the pain deepened, and so did his involvement. Whenever she tried to hide her discomfort, he would gently correct her posture, guide her to the couch, or offer to help her stretch. She appreciated the gestures, yet she couldn't shake the curiosity and worry swelling inside her. When had her son become so knowledgeable? And why did he act like he bore some invisible responsibility? Still, she pushed those thoughts aside. Between her pain, her job, and the fear of missing work, she didn't have room to question too much. For now, she accepted Daniel's help with gratitude, even if it came with strange intensity. What Elena didn't know was that her condition had already begun to reshape Daniel's world. While she believed he was simply being kind, he was quietly carrying a heavy, secret burden, one that would soon unravel in ways she never expected. Elena thought she understood her son Daniel well. He was bright, polite, and unusually empathetic for a teenager, but she never imagined the depth of his determination or the lengths he would go to help her. After a week of noticing her struggle with daily tasks, Daniel approached her one evening with a proposition that made her pause. "Mom, I can help you feel better," he said quietly, holding a laptop that seemed heavier than him. "I learned some exercises online that can relieve back pain. Can I try them with you?" Elena hesitated. The idea of letting her teenage son administer any kind of therapy felt strange, even risky. Yet the thought of relief, however small, was tantalizing. After a moment's pause, she agreed, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "Okay, Daniel, just be careful." What followed surprised her in ways she hadn't anticipated. Daniel guided her through a series of stretches and movements with careful precision. Each motion was deliberate, targeting areas of tension she hadn't realized were contributing to her discomfort. When a movement caused sharp pain, he immediately adjusted her posture, explaining why the adjustment would help. Elena couldn't believe what she was seeing. It wasn't random guesses or teenage imitation. He spoke with a quiet confidence. As if he had studied the human body for years. As days went by, she noticed significant relief. Her back, which had throbbed relentlessly, started to feel lighter. Tasks she once dreaded, bending to pick up laundry, lifting grocery bags, even walking short distances, became manageable. She began to relax in ways she hadn't since the pain began. The relief was real, undeniable. But alongside it came an unsettling curiosity. Where had Daniel gained such knowledge? She knew him well enough to realize this wasn't from school, friends, or casual internet browsing. When she asked him about it, he simply shrugged and said, "I wanted to help. I read a lot online." But the hesitation in his voice, the way he avoided her gaze, hinted at a larger secret. Elena wanted to press further, but the moment was bittersweet. Her pain was easing, yet a nagging worry began to creep in. Why was he so invested? Why the secrecy? She tried to push the thought aside, telling herself it didn't matter. Relief mattered more. And indeed, day by day, Daniel's care seemed to restore not just her body, but also her spirit. The simple act of someone being so attentively present, watching her movements, guiding her gently, and celebrating even small improvements, was unexpectedly comforting. She felt seen, supported, and protected. Emotions she hadn't realized she had missed. Yet beneath the surface of gratitude, a subtle tension lingered. Elena began to notice how Daniel's life seemed to revolve increasingly around her care. He skipped dinner sometimes, lingered over his exercises with her, and spent hours quietly researching. She dismissed it at first, assuming it was curiosity or teenage dedication. But deep down, she sensed that this help was more than just kindness. It carried a weight of responsibility, one she didn't yet fully understand. Little did she know, her son's hidden dedication was about to reveal a secret that would leave her utterly speechless. Elena's relief from her back pain continued to improve under Daniel's careful guidance, but she soon noticed patterns that didn't quite add up. It started subtly: faint lights glowing under his bedroom door long after he was supposed to be asleep, the soft clatter of a keyboard, and the quiet shuffle of papers on the floor. At first, she dismissed it as typical teenage habits, late-night homework sessions, or chatting with friends online. But a quiet, persistent feeling in her chest told her that something was different, something more serious than ordinary homework. One night, Elena tried to check on him. She tiptoed to his room, careful not to make a sound, and peeked through the slightly cracked door. Daniel was hunched over his desk, face illuminated by the glow of his laptop. His eyes were wide with focus, his hands moving swiftly across the PS keyboard. He paused frequently to jot notes into a small, well-worn notebook, murmuring softly under his breath. The sight both startled and unnerved her. She had never seen her usually cheerful, calm son look so tense, so burdened. It was as if he were carrying the weight of the world on his young shoulders. Curiosity mixed with concern, and she leaned closer, only to have him snap the notebook closed and insist she go back to bed. "It's just homework, Mom," he said, quickly, with a nervous edge in his voice. But the insistence felt unnatural. Elena sensed a protective urgency in his tone. He didn't want her to see, didn't want her to worry. The secret, whatever it was, seemed too heavy for him to carry with her watching. Over the next few days, Elena noticed other signs. Daniel skipped meals more often, lingered over stretches with her longer than necessary, and seemed preoccupied even during family moments. One afternoon, while tidying up, she found the notebook he had left accidentally on the couch. Out of a mix of concern and instinct, she opened it. Her eyes widened as she scanned the pages. Diagrams of the human spine, notes on muscle tension, detailed instructions for relieving specific back pains, and even annotated references to online physiotherapy guides. It was meticulous, comprehensive. and far beyond what any casual teenager might study for curiosity alone. Elena's mind raced. Why had he gone to such lengths? Why did he hide it? She began to piece together the nights she had seen him awake, the murmured instructions, the frantic typing. The realization hit her slowly, then fully. Daniel had been secretly studying everything he could about back care, not for a project, not for fun, but to help her. He wasn't just being kind. He was obsessed with finding a way to alleviate her suffering, fearing that if he didn't act, she would continue to struggle. Emotion, admiration, and a touch of guilt swirled inside her. She had thought she understood Daniel, but this hidden side revealed a depth of care and responsibility she hadn't anticipated. He wasn't simply helping. He was silently sacrificing his time, sleep, and energy for her well-being. And he had done it all in secret, carrying the burden alone. Elena realized that her son's dedication had moved beyond ordinary love. It was a quiet, relentless determination, born of worry and courage. She knew that, sooner or later, this hidden routine would surface. And when it did, it would change everything about how she saw Daniel and herself. Elena had sensed that something was off about Daniel's late-night activities, but she never imagined the full story she was about to uncover. The night she finally confronted him, the tension that had been quietly building between them reached a peak. It was a quiet evening, the apartment bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun. Daniel was sitting at the kitchen table, notebook open, laptop humming softly, when Elena took a deep breath and spoke. "Daniel, I need you to tell me what's going on," she said gently, trying to keep her voice calm, though her heart raced. "Why are you staying up all night? Why are you doing all these exercises and notes in secret? I know it's not just homework." For a moment, he froze. His pen hovered above the paper, hands trembling slightly. Then, as if a dam had broken, he buried his face in his hands and began to speak. The words spilled out in a torrent, fueled by months of fear, worry, and secrecy. Daniel admitted that he had been terrified for months, terrified of seeing his mother in pain, terrified of her struggling alone, and terrified that medical bills would become overwhelming. He had refused to ask for help because he didn't want to add stress to her already difficult life. Instead, he took matters into his own hands. He told her about the countless hours he had spent online, learning about the human body, spine alignment, and rehabilitation techniques. He joined forums, read articles, watched tutorials, and even consulted volunteers who guided him remotely. All of this he had done in secret, fearing she would scold him, feel guilty, or think he was overstepping. His dedication had been relentless, driven by love and fear in equal measure. Elena listened in stunned silence, her mind struggling to process the depth of her son's devotion. She had thought she understood Daniel, but never like this. He wasn't merely helping her. He had been carrying the weight of her suffering on his young shoulders. Every sleepless night, every skipped meal, every anxious glance she had noticed, they were all part of a hidden effort to protect her. Tears welled in Elena's eyes as she reached out to take his hand. "Daniel, I had no idea," she whispered, voice trembling. "I never wanted you to feel like this, to carry so much alone." He looked up at her, eyes glistening, and said simply, "I just wanted you to be okay, Mom. I didn't want you to hurt anymore." In that moment, the truth crashed down on her like a tidal wave. She realized the sacrifices he had made, the mental and emotional burden he had borne silently. Guilt, pride, and overwhelming love mingled inside her. Her back pain had unintentionally become a catalyst for a profound act of devotion, a hidden heroism she had never expected from her teenage son. Elena hugged him tightly, finally allowing herself to express the gratitude, relief, and sorrow that had been building. The secret that had burdened him for so long was now shared, no longer hidden in the shadows. And though the path forward would require adjustments, medical help, and new boundaries, this revelation forged a deeper bond between them, a bond built on trust, love, and the unspoken heroism of a son determined to protect his mother at any cost. The revelation of Daniel's secret dedication left Elena reeling. She had known her son was caring and responsible, but she had never imagined the lengths he had gone to for her well-being. The truth, though heartwarming, carried an uncomfortable weight. Daniel had been sacrificing his own health and daily life to care for her. She realized that while her back was gradually healing, her son's life had quietly begun to unravel. At school, Daniel's teachers began to notice changes. Assignments were turned in late, grades dropped in subjects where he once excelled, and he seemed constantly distracted. Friends noticed him withdrawing from social activities, skipping sports practice, and turning down invitations to hang out. Elena watched him, alarmed, realizing that while he had focused all his energy on her, he had neglected the life of a teenager, his studies, friendships, and even his basic self-care. The boy who had once seemed so resilient was now quietly struggling under the weight of his hidden burden. At home, she observed the signs she had previously overlooked: dishes left in the sink, half-eaten meals, bags under his eyes, and the restless movements when he tried to sleep. She understood. Now that the late nights of research and secret exercises were taking a toll, her heart ached for him. What had started as an innocent act of care had evolved into a source of stress, anxiety, and exhaustion that he had carried alone, thinking it would protect her from suffering. One evening, Elena decided to address the issue directly. Sitting across from him at the kitchen table, she took his hands in hers and spoke softly. "Daniel, I know everything you've done for me, and I love you for it. But I can't let you hurt yourself trying to save me. You're my son, and your health matters too." Her voice trembled with both love and guilt. "You didn't just help my back, you've been protecting me with your own life. That's too much for anyone, especially you." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, he admitted how afraid he had been, not of failure, but of losing her. He had thought that if he didn't take control, she might continue suffering, and he could not bear the idea. His secret labor had been an act of love, but it had also been a burden, one that had gone unnoticed until now. Hearing Elena acknowledge it brought a mixture of relief and shame. He had been carrying the weight of his mother's pain and his own fear alone for months. Elena knew that moving forward required careful balance. She vowed to seek professional medical help, to share the responsibility rather than letting Daniel bear it alone. She introduced healthier routines, scheduled therapy sessions, shared household duties, and open communication about both of their needs. Gradually, Daniel began to reclaim parts of his life schoolwork, friendships, and sleep while continuing to support his mother in appropriate ways. Through it all, Elena realized that this experience had revealed not only her son's extraordinary courage and devotion, but also the necessity of balance and self-care. Daniel's secret heroism had saved her body, but the emotional cost was undeniable. Their bond, however, had deepened immeasurably, built on love, sacrifice, and a newfound respect for each other's limits. Together, they learned that caring for someone doesn't mean losing oneself, and that true protection sometimes requires asking for help instead of carrying the burden alone. With the truth out in the open, Elena and Daniel began a new chapter in their lives, a chapter grounded in honesty, care, and shared responsibility. The revelation of Daniel's hidden nights of research, study, and sleepless dedication had initially left Elena feeling a mixture of awe, guilt, and profound love. She knew that while his efforts had eased her physical pain, they had come at a personal cost. Her son had sacrificed sleep, schoolwork, and social life, carrying a burden far too heavy for someone his age. Elena immediately took steps to restore balance. She sought professional medical help for her back, engaging a physical therapist who could guide her safely through exercises. She insisted that Daniel no longer attempt to treat her alone, reassuring him that while his concern was heartfelt, she needed proper care. At first, Daniel felt uneasy. He had grown accustomed to being her protector, but slowly, he began to trust the process, seeing that his mother's pain could be managed without him taking sole responsibility. They created new routines together. Household chores were shared fairly, and time for relaxation, homework, and meals was prioritized for both. Daniel's school performance gradually improved, and he started reconnecting with friends he had unintentionally neglected. Elena, in turn, learned to ask for help and accept support without feeling like a burden. These small but significant adjustments began to heal not only her back, but also the subtle strain that had settled between them over the months. More importantly, their emotional bond deepened. Evenings once filled with unspoken tension became moments of laughter, shared stories, and mutual understanding. Elena realized that Daniel's actions, though secret and extreme, stemmed from pure love that demanded recognition, not guilt. She often reminded him, softly and repeatedly, that caring for someone didn't mean sacrificing oneself. Daniel began to internalize this lesson, learning that asking for help and sharing responsibility were also acts of love. One evening, while preparing dinner together, a quiet moment of reflection brought a wave of gratitude and connection. Elena turned to him and said, "Daniel, you didn't just help my back, you healed my heart." He smiled, a mix of relief and warmth, understanding that his efforts had been appreciated, and that their shared struggles had strengthened their relationship in ways neither could have imagined. Over time, their story became one of resilience, love, and growth. The secret sacrifices that had once weighed so heavily on Daniel's young shoulders transformed into a symbol of trust and unity between mother and son. They both learned invaluable lessons: the importance of communication, the need to balance care for others with self-care, and the power of love expressed through dedication and empathy. In the end, the pain that had brought them to the brink of exhaustion and worry became a catalyst for deeper understanding. Together, they moved forward healed, bonded, and prepared to face life's challenges side by side. Daniel's hidden heroism had initially left Elena speechless, but in its aftermath, it revealed the extraordinary strength of family, the beauty of sacrifice, and the transformative power of unkind.